Polish is overrated in indie game development. Here we are in another episode in unpopular game dev opinions. So the reason why polish is not really important in the indie game development industry is for the teams that does want to just finish their vertical slice and go and publish to a publisher. I'm sorry, pitch to a publisher. Vertical slices, yes, they are important to look visual interesting if your game relies on that. Again, with games that have a very strong visual impact and a very strong narrative, you should go and make as best visuals as you can because this is the thing that you want to showcase in your game. But polishing stuff, like for example, changing a light a very bit on the hair of the character, like a hairline light, or doing stuff that is very complicated in gameplay and stuff like that, does not really require to be in your vertical slice because this is again something to test out to see if it's a good game to go through within the publisher idea or not. So this is something that you do not really need to go very deep in, and this is why you do not really need too much of polish. But now let's get into a bit of details what kind of polish you should care about and what kind of polish you should not care about. Anything that breaks your game, for example, let's say a shake effect on damage, this is something that we should not neglect because this really changes a lot in the matter of gameplay. But for example, the vibration in a controller is something that is not really required because it's a polished thing and accessibility polished thing. So you don't really need to do stuff that is very extreme, and you should not neglect stuff that is pretty basic. Post-processing, pretty basic. Multilingual support, very advanced accessibility option. So you should not do that really in your vertical slice or if you want to polish your video game. Again, the other thing is what genre your game is. If you are a narrative heavily story rich game or a very complex building sandbox game or something like that, the genre really is important for narrative games. You should polish as much as for the visual impact because it's really relies on cinematics and stuff like that. For example, like games like Detroit, it's really something important to really focus into the visual impact and the narrative, the VO and the music, because this is what you want to show in your game. But if your game is like something like very heavy in gameplay and much more stronger gameplay rather than a very strong, for example, narrative, or I'm talking about sandbox games, roguelite or roguelike games that are really focused on much of the gameplay rather than the narrative, you should go and try to polish the gameplay features, not things in the art and stuff like that, because this is a thing that the publisher gonna look for. Don't want to see a very amazing art, light art direction, for example, or light visual direction. They want to see a very amazing gameplay in your game. So you should focus on the stuff that really are important in polish. Also, don't start any polishing until you finish the base stuff. So this is something that I see many people do. They try to go, the first thing they do after importing a sprite, they try to polish the code as much as possible. They try to polish the art as much as possible, the lights, the single each thing they try to polish and do from the ground up to the end. They do not do it in steps because they say, oh, I do not want to annoy my future self on it and I just want to finish it right now, just get with it forever. And this thing something that will not work because different implementation and changes in the system in the future, even if you have a very perfect pre-production plan, gonna make you need to change stuff in some of like the player controller and stuff like that. So if you really want, you should do them in much of a steps. So the polish is the last step, of course. Usually it's done in post-production, by the way, but let's say if you have a vertical slice plan, you should do it after finishing, like do stuff in squares and capsules in Unity until you finish, then do the art, then do the background art, then do, for example, some of the art direction, then you polish in steps, so you don't really get overwhelmed with polish, that you have a very long production timeline. So this is all the things I want to really advise you guys about polish. I hope you really liked the video. Definitely don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment. I read all the comments. Drop a like also, and the most important thing, Wishlist Eggventure on Steam. So this is all of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next episode.